Hello and welcome. This is Rush Hour with me, Sumit Chaturvedi. Let's begin with the global news. Well, Israel has intensified its military offensive in Gaza with airstrikes and ground operations killing hundreds this week, as UN warns of a worsening starvation crisis as well. Now, after a nearly 3-month blockade, Israel has allowed 9 aid trucks into Gaza, but UN officials call it a drop in the ocean as 500,000 people they face famine. International pressure is mounting with Britain, France and Canada threatening sanctions if Israel does not halt its offensive and lift aid restrictions. Meanwhile, US intelligence reports they say Israel is planning to strike Iran's nuclear facilities despite ongoing US-Iran nuclear talks. The move they risk escalating regional tensions and leaves us with several questions. They'll be answered soon. And as Israel escalates its military operations in Gaza and eyes Iran's nuclear facilities, can diplomacy prevent a full-scale regional war? And with Gaza facing starvation due to Israel's blockade, how will international community respond to avert a humanitarian catastrophe? As tensions rise between Israel and Iran, what are the risks of miscalculations sparking a broader conflict in the Middle East? And today we'll discuss all that with our esteemed guest, Kabir Taneja, Deputy Director, Strategic Studies, Middle East Fellow, ORF. Well, good evening to you, Mr. Taneja. First of all, how do you see these latest development when it comes to Middle East? One side, Israel can allow some aids in Gaza, but on the other side, the tensions can increase if Israel chooses to hit Iran's facilities, nuclear facilities.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look, on the aid in Gaza, I think it's the amount of aid that Israel has decided to allow in is very minuscule. I think it's only a couple of trucks, and considering the situation in Gaza right now, where starvation is rampant, I don't think it's going to help much. But it is basically showing some sort of intent to the international community that Israel is not only conducting its military campaign in Gaza, but is also allowing some humanitarian aid in, but clearly it's not going to be enough. But there are broader sort of issues that are attached to the Gaza crisis. Now, as you mentioned, there are talks about Israel wanting to go and strike Iran's nuclear program. Look. A nuclear Iran is a red line for Israel, definitely. But it will be very difficult for Israel to conduct such a strike without American backing. So that's a crucial point to remember. And the second important point as we go forward is that Israel is also very upset that Donald Trump, during his Middle East visit, did not make a stopover in Israel. So there is a definite gap between Prime Minister Netanyahu's government and the government of President Trump. President Trump has supported Israel for a long period of time, but I think what is happening in Gaza right now is making it very difficult for even President Trump to give complete backing to Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But Mr. Taneja, such strikes have happened earlier also, so we can't completely deny that they can happen again. In that situation, how do you see this development?
I think the last time such an exchange of fire happened between Israel and Iran, Israel really did not target the nuclear facilities. What we're talking about is targeting nuclear installations such as Natanz and so on and so forth. Those is another one. That would be an outright call of war as far as Iran is concerned. So it is going to be the top echelon of military action if that does take place. I'm still not convinced that the Israelis will be able to do it without American backing, and I find it very hard at this point of time, at least, that President Trump is going to give Israel a green light to conduct such an attack. But Israel is between a rock and a hard place right now, considering that Iran-US talks on nuclear negotiations are taking place. Israel is also wary of Iran signing a JCPOA-like agreement once again with the US. Iran was vehemently against that. Israel was vehemently against that. Israel supported Donald Trump's candidature as president of the United States, thinking that he will take a much harder stance against Iran than what he is right now. So it's a very, very difficult position that the Netanyahu government specifically find themselves in.
Mr. Taneja, but can diplomacy prevent a full-scale regional war? What role do they have to play? I mean, global powers.
Look, the only power that matters here at this point of time is the US. Just the fact that the Iranians are sort of talking to the Americans at this point of time to look for a solution is a very positive and good outcome. But the broader point is that the Iranians are not going to let go of the nuclear program. So if Israel is expecting that Iran is completely going to dismantle its nuclear program in exchange for a revocation of sanctions or economic aid or economic investments, I don't think that is going to happen. What best US can do at this point of time is delay and push back against nuclear enrichment at Iranian nuclear plants. And I think Iran will also be able to sort of deliver on that. But as far as what Israel's end goal is, which is a dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program, I don't think that's on the table as far as diplomacy is concerned, which is why we are hearing about this thinking of kinetic action by Israel against Iran.
And Mr. Taneja, before I let you go, one last question. How do you see this in the light of the recent tensions we saw between India and Pakistan? Though they are not so linked, but how much can the world afford at this moment? And oil prices, do you see an impact on them? Because whenever something happens, oil prices also get impacted.
Look, the India-Pakistan was a very individualistic bilateral issue between the two countries, which has been there for a long period of time. It has no impact per se on Iran and Israel. You can sort of attach to the idea that Israel can sort of use Pakistan as an example, that a sort of a country that is not entirely stable has nuclear weapons and it gets away with whatever it wants to for the time being. So other than that, other than a superficial sort of comparative, we don't see that being a big issue as far as India-Pakistan issue is concerned. On the oil prices, definitely, oil prices are never a fan of political instability. For the time being, they seem to be sort of holding on. But if there is another kinetic action between Iran and Israel, definitely we are going to see a huge spike in oil prices based on the prevailing conflict if that takes place.
Thank you, Mr. Taneja. On that note, it's very glad to discuss all these situations with you. Thanks for joining us this evening.